Imagine a world where leaders of global superpowers, once at odds over a brutal war, suddenly dip their toes back into dialogue. Could this be the turning point we've been desperately hoping for in the Ukraine crisis? But here's where it gets controversial. U.S. President Donald Trump has just announced plans to sit down with Russian President Vladimir Putin again, following what he calls a great progress phone chat, sparking fierce debates about diplomacy versus defiance. Dive in with me as we unpack this unfolding story, step by step, because understanding the nuances might just reveal why peace feels so tantalizingly close, yet frustratingly out of reach. Just hours ago, Trump revealed that he and Putin had a very productive conversation on Thursday, marking their first direct talk since mid-August. The outcome? An agreement to meet face-to-face in Hungary, where they'll focus on discussions aimed at resolving the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Trump described the call as yielding great progress, and both sides are gearing up for their teams to convene next week. The Kremlin echoed this sentiment, highlighting the extremely frank and trustful nature of the exchange, and pledging to kick off preparations for the summit right away. Picture this. High-level advisors from Washington and Moscow are set to gather at an undisclosed spot, with Trump's Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, spearheading the American group. And this is the part most people miss. The meeting isn't just idle chatter. It's a tangible step toward what could be pivotal negotiations, potentially reshaping the map of Eastern Europe. This announcement comes at a critical juncture, just a day before Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrives at the White House for talks. Zelensky, who's been vocal about Russia's aggression, quipped upon his arrival in the U.S. that Moscow seems eager to restart talks as soon as it hears about Tomahawks. For those unfamiliar, Tomahawk missiles are advanced, long-range weapons the U.S. might consider providing to Ukraine, capable of striking targets deep inside Russian territory, up to 2,500 kilometers away. Trump is weighing this decision carefully, but in a twist, he told reporters after the Putin call that arming Ukraine with them could deplete America's own stockpiles, which we need for our own defenses. We can't deplete them, we need them too. So I don't know what we can do about that, he said, leaving the door slightly ajar with an earlier, "We'll see, I may." This hesitation has fueled controversy. Is Trump prioritizing U.S. security over Ukraine's pleas, or is he cleverly using this as leverage in talks? It's a classic case of balancing national interests, and one that invites heated opinions. Do you think withholding such weapons stalls peace, or is it a smart strategic pause? Trump, posting on his Truth Social platform, emphasized that much of the call centered on future trade relations between Russia and the U.S., envisioning a post-war era where commerce flows freely. He also plans to brief Zelensky on Friday about the Putin discussions, expressing belief that great progress was achieved. Looking ahead, Trump expects the Budapest meeting to happen within 2 weeks, though no firm date has been locked in yet. Not everyone is cheering this development. Ukraine's ambassador to the U.S., Olga Stefanishyna, pointed out that Russia bombarded Ukrainian targets overnight, mere hours before the Putin-Trump call. In a statement to CBS, she argued this exposes Moscow's real attitude toward peace, describing Russia's approach as one of terror and exhaustion. She urged stronger measures, tougher sanctions, better air defenses, and yes, those long-range capabilities to really turn the tide. On the flip side, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban hailed the planned Budapest talks as great news for the peace-loving people of the world on X, formerly Twitter. He went further, calling for Europe to embrace patience, strength, and humility instead of arrogance and fanning the flames of endless war. Orban's stance? Negotiations with Russia are key to continental peace, a viewpoint that sparked debate since it seems to lean toward Russia's position. Is Orban right that dialogue trumps confrontation, or does this soften the West's resolve too much? It's a bold counterpoint that begs for your take. To grasp the full picture, let's rewind. Trump has shifted gears on Putin since their face-to-face summit in Alaska on August 15th, which fell short of clinching a peace deal despite Trump's hopes. Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022, And that meeting on U.S. soil was meant to push Putin toward comprehensive talks. They spoke again shortly after, with Trump even interrupting a session with Zelensky and European leaders to dial Putin. Since then, public confirmations of contacts have been scarce from either the White House or Kremlin. During his campaign, Trump boasted he could wrap up the war in days, but he's since acknowledged it's tougher than he anticipated, perhaps because ending a conflict involving entrenched positions and territorial disputes requires more than quick fixes. Trump's history with Russia adds layers here. Seen as more sympathetic to Moscow than his predecessor Joe Biden, his initial tensions with Zelensky peaked in February when he and Vice President J.D. Vance publicly scolded the Ukrainian leader in the Oval Office. But relations have warmed considerably. By September, Trump signaled a pivot, declaring his belief that Kyiv could reclaim all of Ukraine back in its original form, a stark contrast to earlier suggestions of territorial concessions to Russia. Zelensky's upcoming Washington visit, his third since January, will likely spotlight the Tomahawk issue alongside broader support. Earlier this year, Trump gave Putin a tight deadline to agree to a ceasefire or face severe sanctions, including against nations trading with Russia. Yet, he backed off after the Alaska summit, which he initially cheered as a diplomatic win, even if it yielded no concrete results. And here's another curveball. On Thursday, India's foreign ministry questioned Trump's claim that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had pledged to halt Russian oil purchases. An Indian spokesman denied any such recent chat, despite Trump's assertion that Modi agreed to stop within weeks. This highlights ongoing U.S. efforts to pressure countries like India, China, and NATO allies to cut ties with Russian energy, amplifying economic strain on the Kremlin. Zelensky has repeatedly echoed these calls for global unity against Russia's actions. As we wrap this up, it's clear that Trump's renewed outreach to Putin could redefine the Ukraine war's trajectory, potentially leading to breakthroughs in trade and borders post-conflict, or perhaps just more empty promises. But here's the million-dollar question. Should world leaders like Trump prioritize direct talks with adversaries, even if it means cozying up to figures like Putin? Or does this risk emboldening aggression? And what if Zelensky's push for powerful weapons like Tomahawks is the real key to forcing Russia to the table versus dialogue alone? Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you support Trump's diplomatic gamble, or do you see it as naive? Could this Budapest meeting be the peace spark the world needs, or just another distraction in a prolonged crisis? Your opinions could spark a lively debate. Let's hear them.